Why isn't anyone on the news talking about the fact that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, went to Israel to talk to rabbis about sacrificing red cows and bringing about the end of the world? Like, I feel like that should be newsworthy, but no one's talking about it. I mean, it's crazy enough that we have world leaders who believe in this mythology and weird things like that, and it's terrifying enough that these same world leaders have the weapons that could technically bring about the end of the world. But I feel like people should be talking about the fact that there's like 5 red cows that they flew from Texas to Israel because they're going to sacrifice them so rabbis can like bathe in their ashes. This is really weird and really kind of creepy, and the fact that no one's mentioning it, and it is the kind of thing you would think, oh, that's just some crazy conspiracy theorist, except for Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House of the United States of Congress, and he flew to Israel to talk to these people about this, and then flew one of those rabbis to Congress to talk to some evangelical Republicans about this. So that seems like that shit should be on the news. I'm just saying.
So whatever happened to the red cows that Netanyahu's supposed to sacrifice to bring his Messiah? I have a major update, but first, for those who don't know, Netanyahu is playing around with prophecy. He raised genetically modified cows in Texas to bring over to Blue State to sacrifice to bring a Messiah. Crazy but true, look it up. There's lots of websites dedicated to this, and South Park even did an episode on this, the ginger cow episode. So whatever happened to the ginger cows? One of them was recently discovered to have 2 black hairs on its entire body, found by rabbis with magnifying glasses, which is a blemish and disqualifies it. They used that cow in a practice run ceremony. They're serious about this. I hope their Indian allies don't find out about this, because to them, cows are sacred. You really can't make this stuff up. Now remember, Netanyahu's Messiah is supposed to come prove that Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad were wrong, and that he himself is the real Messiah. To Christians and Muslims both, this is the Antichrist. Their Messiah, Antichrist, is supposed to come and wipe us both out. So Netanyahu, while in the middle of a G-side, is actually trying to raise the Antichrist. You really can't make this stuff up. The world we live in.
Red Heifers, in rebuilding the Third Temple, let me tell you everything I know for a fact. Number 1, there are different branches of Judaism in Israel. The majority, the mainstream, are secular. They don't do the religion thing at all. For them, Judaism is their heritage, their customs, their culture. Now, of religious Jews in Israel, the mainstream believe in the diaspora. They believe everything has been spiritualized now, and they are not looking forward to a physical rebuilding of the Third Temple. And then there is a small minority group known as the Orthodox. And they say, now wait a minute, we see how history played out on the earth. We expect it to finish in that same way. So in 1987, they began their plan to see the Third Temple rebuilt. To begin making preparations. They knew it was going to be a long job of work to get it all prepared and see it through all the way to the end. Their progress has been slow but meticulous. They revived the Sanhedrin, which is the council of elders to oversee the legal matters pertaining to the rebuilding of the new temple, to see that it is done according to the Torah. And I'm only reading this to you off of their website. And they actively seek to fulfill prophecy and rebuild the Third Temple so that their Messiah can come and save the world. And this is important because according to the Orthodox, without the temple, the divine presence of God is absent from the world, having no house to live in. And so they believe the physical temple is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, there is no place for the divine presence of God to live on earth. And they believe the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is where the Third Temple is to be built. Couple of problems with that. If you can see, the Dome of the Rock is currently standing on the Temple Mount. The Jews are allowed to visit the Temple Mount during permissible times, but it is against the law in Israel for Jews to pray on the Temple Mount, because this is a Muslim site, and the Muslims do not suffer the Jews to worship here. Now, it is the Israeli authorities that have and enforce the law that Jews are not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount, and the authorities in Israel deny that there ever was a temple on the Temple Mount, because according to Muslim tradition, Abraham built that mosque right there. Now, if you want to do some archaeology around here and find out once and for all about what is the true history here, good luck. That sort of thing is heavily frowned upon, and I do mean heavily. We do not want to go around upsetting religious sensitivities around here. And so the authorities are the gatekeepers of history for the sake of politics. Not truth, politics. Not just in Jerusalem, everywhere. Real heavy in Egypt. Don't go digging up the past. Swallow the story that they give you, else we'll upset their sensitivities in every place. That's why we don't know nothing. Now, the truth is, the Bible is the most historically accurate document on the face of the planet. There ain't even a close second place. While academia has all along and continues to this day to mock and scorn the allegations in the Bible of historical events, the Bible has continually, and I mean repeatedly, embarrassed academia in regards to world history. So much so that I'm amazed those fellas don't shut their own mouths for shame. And they will one day. So, to summarize so far, there is a minority group, the Orthodox in Israel, that seek to rebuild the Third Temple on the Temple Mount. They currently have no public support whatsoever from the authorities in Israel or the mainstream religion in Israel. They have made progress by way of getting the religious practices locked down legally according to the Sanhedrin, according to the Old Testament. They've been training up the priests. They've been making the furniture for the temple. They've been doing political activism and such things. But there's a real big problem that stands in the way of seeing this plan all the way through. And they're about to sacrifice some red heifers for some ritual purification so that their rebuilding efforts can be sanctified. And that's where we're at here. A few more things, though. First of all, we're about to have World War III. And just like by treaties signed after World War II, Israel became a nation again. I think we're going to see that same sort of thing again after World War III by treaties. Jerusalem is going to get rebuilt. Not just the temple, Jerusalem. Does sacrificing red heifers mean Jesus is about to come back? No. You need patience. Great patience, brothers and sisters. It is the extra oil for your lamps. Everybody just calm down a little bit. The apocalypse began 2,000 years ago and has been steadily progressing ever since, and your life is a vapor. The revelation was seen and given in the Spirit. And a day to the Lord is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. We ain't on your time, dirt monkey. This is the fourth seal of the apocalypse. It took us 2,000 years to get here, and it's about to wrap up so the fifth seal can break. And the fourth seal is going to wrap up in a little thing called World War III. Is that why it looks like Armageddon? It might as well be for our generation. History repeats the revelation. We get a mock Armageddon over and over and over again in every place. That's why 70 AD looked like the end of the world. It was not. It was the end of that age. The end of a nation, which is a smaller event than an end of an age, looks the same way. It's just scaled down. The end of an empire is bigger than the end of a nation, but it's smaller than the end of an age. But it's the same story. Happens with an Armageddon. Like the Bronze Age collapse. It wasn't just that the sea people were showing up and burning entire empires to the ground, leaving no record whatsoever above the soil, so that academia says, those empires didn't exist, when the Bible says, yes, they did. The Bible's making it up just to further their own agenda. Bet, go get a shovel. Volcanoes erupted, there were earthquakes, the sky went dark with ash clouds, there was famine in the land. The Bronze Age collapse was a whole end of the world. It was the end of the world as they knew it. The Iron Age was about to be born. But the Hittites ceased to exist. Do you see? The whole world didn't end, just theirs, and the three other neighboring civilizations of the time. Their world ended entirely. They are found no more upon the face of the earth. Just so we know, the Bible is not all fairy tales and imagination. It tells us what happened and how it happens, as it tells us what's going to happen and says, there's nothing new under the sun. That thing that was is that thing that shall be again, because history, can we all agree, does repeat. Let me repeat. We are in the fourth seal. Took 2,000 years to get here, and the fourth seal is coming to a culmination, not just an end, a climax. It's like, yeah, we've been watching the fireworks and they're pretty, but have you seen the grand finale? We're all real familiar with this term, the Great Reset. Conspiracy theories abound, and they're based on truth. They're just full of lies. And I am by no means suggesting that Orthodox Jews are going to make World War III so that they can rebuild the temple. No. I mean to say that these things are just happening at the same time. It's not a matter of one group being in control of everything. It's a matter of the mechanics of reality itself. Like, the whole universe is cause and effect. The events are lining up on purpose, but it ain't people doing it. But it does involve people everywhere doing what is laid upon their hearts to do. And in that way, it all works together for an actual result. It's compartmentalized. It ain't like everybody's working together. It's just gonna come together that way in the end. Everybody doing their own individual little parts, whether they know they're working together or not. It's all working together for a little thing that we call world history when it's done. And there is a book on the earth that tells us the true past, supported by archaeology everywhere it's allowed to be digged. That same book tells us history repeats. The thing that was is the thing that's going to happen again, and we all see with our own eyes that this is true. And it tells us the future, knowing that that thing that happened in the past is that thing that's going to happen again. It's not the end of the world. Jesus is not about to come back right now. Look, even in the Old Testament, in the days of Ezra the scribe, when the second temple was rebuilt, King Cyrus fulfilled no prophecy by calling for it to be rebuilt. It's only that he wanted to be the dude that fulfilled that prophecy, and so he called for it. The second fellow to call for it didn't fulfill prophecy either. It was the third fellow that called for it that fulfilled that prophecy. Don't be soon shaken in your minds. You have one job to do, and one job only, Christian. Love your neighbor as yourself. Are you doing that? Here is what I have found. Knowing all that I know and all that I have learned, let me tell you what counts. Fear the Lord and keep His commandments. You have enough to do in a day doing that, not to worry about tomorrow at all. Get yourselves together, fam. Look, this is it. This is what there is to do. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. You love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, and soul by keeping His commands to love your neighbor as yourself. God is going to sort the rest of all of this out. Don't worry. Just love people. Do that.
Yeah, the ultra-religious have been looking for a red cow to perform the sacrificial ceremony and bring about the end times in the past, but this situation is a lot more different. They believe the cow has to be perfectly red until 3 to 4 years of age during Passover, and in 2018 they were just born. This time they still have 4 candidates left that are within 3 to 4 years in age a month before Passover. There are 2 even more important things beyond this. Some evangelical Christians are actually celebrating and believe what's happening in Gaza right now is a prelude to Armageddon. They've already even built the sacrificial altar. The time has to actually sync up to when they can build the temple, and that means destroy the mosque. Never in history has its structural integrity been so weak that it's very at risk of collapse. The past year, Israel's been actually accelerating the speed at which it's digging underneath the mosque, which now poses an existential threat. To me, it seems like they're accelerating the excavation to make the mosque collapse around the time the prophecy is supposed to be performed. The last most important that I think makes the situation more unique than ever before is Israel's actually approaching its 80th year. Religious sects believe in history, the previous 2 kingdoms of Israel's downfall initiated on the 80th year. This country of Israel's 80th year is in 2028, and Netanyahu even warned people about that in a speech. I've been going through Reddit. Some of them do believe this prophecy must happen before 2028 and have it sync up with the mosque's collapse.
According to Mosaic law, burning the ashes of a red heifer is a mandatory act for beginning the temple offering to God. The ashes of the red heifer is a key element in a biblically mandated purification ritual. These ashes are required for purification in a range of situations, including contact with dead bodies. Numbers chapter 19. Now, with all the bloodshed on the Temple Mount down through the centuries, the mount itself must be cleansed before the temple can be built. According to the Torah, Moses prepared the first red heifer, and from that time until the destruction of the temple, only 9 heifers were prepared. There has been no proper red heifer in Israel for the past 2,000 years. The difficulties of finding red heifers anywhere is that they are not only rare, but the animal must meet the requirements as stipulated in the Torah and in the Oral Talmud. The 5 main criteria for establishing the proper red heifer for the holy purpose of purification are: it should be completely red with no spot or blemish. Actually, the heifer can have no more than 2 non-red hairs, and the hooves also must be red. It must be a female. Heifers are female. It must never have been used for labor. It must never have been pregnant, and it must be between 3 to 4 years old. In Judaism, this prophecy signals the coming of a time that includes the return of biblical laws of purity, thus allowing for truly holy life. For evangelical Christians, it heralds the end of days, the return of Jesus to earth, and the rapture. This belief has long driven Christian Zionism and Christian lobbying on behalf of Israel. In September 2022, through a joint effort established between a Christian ministry and the Temple Institute in Jerusalem, 5 red heifers from Texas were transported to Jerusalem and now graze at a secure, undisclosed location in the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
Did they just sacrifice the red heifer in Israel? Yes. Also no. You may have seen this video online recently, and it makes it seem like they are sacrificing a red heifer here. And while they are indeed burning the red heifer, it is a practice for what we know. The Bible says that they will begin the sacrifices again. But see, this red heifer, they apparently, according to them, this is the official story, found 2 black hairs which make it a blemished red heifer. They have to have a unblemished, perfect red heifer because unblemished, sinless, it is what Jesus is, although they don't see it yet. But anyway, they have found the red heifers now after 2,000 years in Texas, of all places. But the one that they were hoping they would sacrifice, they, found these black hairs, and now that's no longer perfect and it is blemished, so they have to find another one. But they decided to go ahead and do a practice run of what they will do. Now, we know in Revelation they do, and in Daniel they do start sacrifices again, and at some point the AC will come along and stop those sacrifices. And, that's during the Great Tribulation. That's when things get really bad on earth, even worse than they are now. But they are practicing right now, and this is all the build up to it. So as I've said before, if you don't know him being Jesus, the Messiah, get to know him now, because time is running out. We are seeing all of these prophetic signs being fulfilled right before our eyes. Now we've got the practices for the red heifer. We've got the plans. We have elevator work being done on the third temple. It is accelerating. Things are happening, and I don't know how much time we have left. So it's better to get to know him now than to wait another day and hope for the best. I have a video pinned above there, and it talks about all the things Jesus talked about is happening right now, and the gospel message is in there. Go watch that video and tell me you're not convinced. And if you haven't accepted Jesus, now's the time.
Oh, it's most definitely witchcraft. This group of individuals that I can't name have a long history of witchcraft. All witchcraft and occult rituals require 3 main things to happen. They need intention, they need meditation, and an energy source. Now, what's great for us, we just have to pray. We don't have to go through all this goofy stuff to make minimal results. Now, let me explain the intention, meditation, and energy source that they're going to be using to try to summon the Antichrist. I'm not too sold it's going to work, but we'll still break it down. Now, their intention, pretty simple. They want to summon the Antichrist, they want to summon the Dajjal. Now I'm going to break down the meditation process. The energy source is where they're going to have some problems. So their meditation process is actually kind of powerful. They're going to be doing a group ritual, so they're going to use a lot of different individuals to try to summon up enough energy to make this happen. Now, the point they're missing within this group ritual, within the meditation process, is that the person who's supposed to perform the red heifer ritual has to be their Messiah. And while Al-Aqsa is still here and they haven't built the third temple, it's impossible for them to even have their Messiah, the Antichrist. Now, for the energy source portion, where they've made some pretty big mistakes. Now, what they're supposed to do is take this cow and it has to be burned within this ritual. Now, the fire has to be lit with cedar wood. And then they must add 2 major things to this fire. One of them being oregano, the other one being wool that is dyed scarlet. And then after all that is done, the ashes from the ritual must be placed in a vessel of pure water. Now, I have the videos of the cow that they selected, and this is where their energy source is really wrong, and it's kind of hilarious. They're out here looking for a red cow, and there's a little bit of a problem with that. Now, it's said that this cow has to be perfect, and they've found like 5 or 6 of them where it doesn't have any imperfections, any black hairs, like straight hair. There's a long list of requirements for this cow. One of the requirements is that the cow is supposed to be yellow, not red. They have a pretty serious mistranslation, and this is why we read the Quran in Arabic and learn the Quran in Arabic. With the mistranslation, it claims that the cow is supposed to be red, but if you study the Quran, it claims that Moses was commanded by a yellow cow. And don't worry, I got the verse pulled up for you guys so you can understand how ridiculous this whole situation is. Chapter 2, verse 69 of the Quran. They said, "Call upon your Lord to specify for us its color.
He replied, Allah says, it should be a bright yellow cow, pleasant to see. They didn't translate it from Judeo-Arabic. They used the wrong version of Arabic to translate it, and they got red instead of yellow. So looking at all that, my best guess is the red heifer ritual is just going to backfire on them really bad and just be a one-way ticket to hell.
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. So folks, we don't have a president in the White House anymore. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying that, because it's kind of ridiculous what the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, said. If you would like, follow and share this video, and let's get this out there so we can show people exactly what the House of Representatives is doing. Mike Johnson goes out and says that the Trump's presidency in his life is through the fruits of divine providence. Well, folks, he goes on to say that he's a deity. Well, the definition for deity is a three-letter word, and that three-letter word is God. So we have the Speaker of the House saying it. It's out there that the president is a god. No longer the president. His life he's a god. So this is what we're up against. And if anyone believes that, now, and especially MAGA Christians, think about that. They've just called him being delivered from God. And if you think this is the way it works, that's not the way I read the Bible. These deities just don't show up and start putting people in incarceration, not feeding them, not clothing them, taking away funding, doing all those things. But according to Mike Johnson, President Trump is a deity.
But suffice it to say, you do not live in the society you think you live in. Your so-called civilization is not what you thought it was. And that's why so many of you in the West, Muslim and non-Muslim, why you feel like you're going crazy over there. Why you feel depressed, why you get depressed, why you feel isolated, why you feel so strange in your society. Why, for instance, you can't understand how everyone around you can act normal while there's a genocide being committed by your country. Because you think, or you thought, that your society, your so-called civilization, you thought that it's different from what it really is. And this is what your problem is. This is where your problem lies. And this is why you have such deeply painful cognitive dissonance. Because Diddy, for example, Epstein, and the rest of them, you have to understand they are not abominations in your society. They're not aberrations in your society, and that's the truth. They are not anomalies. People like that are actually embodiments of your culture. They're embodiments of your so-called civilization. They're not strange. And if those criminals actually shock and disgust you, it's only because you have been lied to, and you lied to yourself, and you believe those lies about the society that you live in and the so-called civilization that you come from. Because these people are not monsters in your society. They're not monsters in your civilization. They are representatives of your society, a society that is itself monstrous. And again, it's not monstrous because of the system. It's not monstrous because of capitalism. It's not monstrous because of corporations. And Marxism is not going to fix it. Socialism is not going to fix it. Communism is not going to fix it. Feminism is not going to fix it. Red pill is not going to fix it. Okay? Liberalism is not going to fix it. Conservatism is not going to fix it. The system that you created is not the problem. The problem is in the people who created the system. Understand? The problem is the whole cultural context, the whole so-called civilizational context in which those systems were created. The cultural context that created the people who created the systems. That's where your problem lies. The problem is the so-called civilization itself. And you have to understand that anything and everything that comes out from that so-called civilization is going to carry that same sickness. Is going to carry the same sickness, the same infection, the same disease, and that's just a fact. You like to tell yourself in the West, and Muslims also like to say this, that the corruption is some sort of a new phenomenon in the West. And I'm telling you, no, it's not new at all. Not at all. It's not because of Trump, okay? It's not because of Biden. It's not because of the Republicans. It's not because of the Democrats. It's not because of Obama. It's not because of Hillary. It's not because of Larry Fink. It's not because of the World Economic Forum or whatever else you might think of. I mean, you can't keep telling yourself that this corruption and this wickedness in your society is the fault of anything or anyone that your society itself produced. You also can't keep telling yourself the lie that the situation is the same everywhere, that corruption exists in all societies. No, corruption exists in good societies, yes. Corruption exists in good societies, but that's completely different than the West. Because in the West, the opposite is true, meaning that some good exists in that corrupt society as opposed to some corruption existing in good societies. They're not the same. You know, it's like saying that a bucket of water that has a drop of mud in it is the same as a bucket of mud that has a drop of water in it. No, they're not the same. They're not the same at all. You know, a weed and a flower might both grow from the same soil, but that doesn't make them identical by any means. This is what I mean about never accepting any accurate diagnosis. You're never going to accept an accurate diagnosis because you don't want to know. And to a certain extent, like I said, I don't really blame you, because the diagnosis is actually quite catastrophic. Because the truth of the matter is, whether you want to hear it or not, the truth of the matter is, the West, so-called civilization, is a so-called civilization that worships the devil. Yes, and it always has. From prehistory right up until today, it always has. It has been immersed in a deep and abiding relationship with the jinn. I mean, I know you've been taught to reject this whole concept about the jinn and what have you. I know that, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, your society is exactly what you would expect a society to look like that had been engineered and had been managed and had been developed by the devil. Honestly, there's no society in history that has been a purveyor of so much immorality, so much cruelty, so much carnage, so much rank sadism and degradation. And that's a fact. It's absolutely stunning when you look at the history. And someone has to tell you, jinn are real. And you've been messing with the jinn literally for millennia in Europe, in the West.